And also, like, with all these K-pop reporters, and, like, this is just, like, from what I've seen, a lot of them either, like, they started off as a K-pop fan, and then they're also a journalist as well, so they decide to write about K-pop. And there's another one where they just are thrown into K-pop and they just start researching and they get into it like that. Um, do you think that reporters who are just thrown into K-pop, they have a right to talk about these kinds of things?
I mean, sure, why not? I mean, there's fans who come after after doing a bandwagon or whatever. They come later on. Like, doesn't make them less than a fan. They were introduced in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
They were introduced to their job. So I still think they definitely have a right to talk about certain issues and how they feel about things and whatever it might be. I mean, and also that's because that's their job. They have to talk about certain issues. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
And then what do you think about when reporters they so like for example this reporter that was in the interview, throughout the interview she was talking about how she wrote an article and then a few people responded to her negatively and then she kind of took that as a personal attack. Do you think that's unprofessional of her to do that?
Yeah, honestly, like her entire all her comments that she was giving in this interview were just like about her complaining about herself. As a journalist, I think it's just like, expected that you're gonna have hate and that people are not gonna like what you want to say.
So you just have to accept that. And I think also like there's just people who like thrive off of just hating on things.
Yeah.
I mean there's like
I agree with
there's
that.
there's K netizens, Korean netizens that all they do is just hate on things. They like literally hate on everything. So it's not uncommon for hate to be everywhere. But as a professional, I feel like you should take that criticism and you should take it in stride and not cry and complain and shut yourself down from it.
I agree.
Okay. But moving on a little bit from that, they also discussed in the interview about the future of K-pop. And like you and I both know, like we got into K-pop like well way before like it really got big here, and we like saw K-pop as like this far away thing that would never come to America, that would never become mainstream or popular.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward a few years later, you have a Korean music group going to a major award show, and they're winning an award, they're presenting an award, they're collaborating with big name artists in the West. Like, how does that all make you feel about the future of K-pop?
I definitely think that like at this point, K-pop has like broken into the mainstream market, and it's gonna be hard for it to just leave.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, in the beginning, I did think that like maybe it'll just be like a phenomenon that shows up once and then leaves, kind of like how K-pop did in the past, because that's happened before, like in early K-pop, like
Like with Gangnam
with Gangnam
Style.
Style and stuff like that. Like they just showed up once and then like it was just like a fad, like for that one song, and then it was gone. But I mean, the fact that like K-pop, like BTS and like other groups are like consistently showing up, and they're making efforts to like be known in the American market. It just kind of shows that this may be the sign of it being integrated fully into the mainstream market.
Then what do you think about certain companies and their moves to get bigger in America?
I still think there's a long way to go. Obviously, like not every company is perfect, and I mean, I wouldn't say there's anything that any company has done that's like this is it. There's still a lot of work that can be done. I mean, it's still uncertain if even BTS will still continue on the path that they're on in terms of being in the American mainstream, but you never know what can happen. I mean, for the most part, I would say that the whole reason that they are where they are is because of fandom. And as
Yeah,
long
yeah,
as the
for
fandom
sure.
is still alive, then their position won't really die either.
Well, clearly we've seen like the fandom is fiercely
Yeah.
like always there, so I don't think
And
they're gonna
that's
go
like, and I
away.
mean, like
That
it is kind of cliche because a lot of like outlets talk about that. They talk about the fandom, but, like, that's literally the truth. Like, the fandom is the entire reason that they are where they are.
Yeah, and then by extension, the fans are there because of them.
Exactly.
So the fans are there because of them, and they're here because of the fans.
Exactly. So
the two-way street. So what do you think about collabs with American artists and K-pop groups?
I think now collabs need to be done more smart. They need to be more smart about collabs. Not just collabing with just anybody. Like, you need, like, knowing, like, how a certain artist could make or break a career, and especially the type of song it could be. I mean, not necessarily, but, like, to an extent. I just think you need to be smart about who the collabs are gonna be with. If they're with somebody who's, like, you know, well known in the media industry, then I think it would be a good choice. But it just can't be, like, you know, somebody who's, like, you know, oh, I just want to, you know, collab with you because you guys are the next big thing. Like,
so no clout chasers.
No clout chasers. Yeah, someone who's, like, genuinely, like, willing to, like, share the message and, like, share the same values as them, which I think they've done a pretty good job of doing that in the past couple years. So, yeah.
So what do you think about, or let me go back. So with BTS, their newest song, Boy With Love, was released, right? And it gets a little bit of radio play, but by radio play, it's just like the oh my part. Like, not a lot of the Korean parts are played. Do you think that even with the lack of radio play, like, they're still huge and they're still, you know, amazing and getting all this recognition and stuff? Do you think radio play is important to K-pop getting big in the West?
Radio play is definitely still important. That's, like, something that, like, people don't really, like, think about anymore, but it's still important because even if it's not, like, a popular thing as much anymore, like radio, it's still something that's played everywhere. And, like, a lot of people, the first thing they do when they get in the car is turn on the radio. So, and, you know, of course, it's going to be that top 40 station at the least. So, if the top 40 station is playing, you know, a song that's in Korean, you know, maybe, and I understand, like, why, like, for, like, Boy With Love, like, they decided to, like, only play, like, the English parts or, like, the catchy parts because, you know, they want to just catch people's attention and, like, see, like, and be like, oh, this is the song, you know?
And also parts with Halsey in it.
Yeah, so because people know who she is, so. I don't know, I just think, like, if they made a more effort to, like, do more radio play with, like, you know, properly with, like, their actual songs, like, a full version of their songs, I think that would be better. But, I mean, it just depends. They only really do it, like, maybe, like, once or twice in, like, a certain, like, cycle, but.
Yeah, I remember, like, when Fake Love came out, I heard it, like, 2 times on the radio.
Yeah, Mic Drop was really popular on the radio. Like, I remember, like, it would be playing, like, all the time.
The remix, yeah.
So, I don't know.
Okay, so. Alright, so what do you think about American award shows using K-pop for clout?
Yeah, I just started doing that, thanks.
I mean, like, it is kind of giving exposure, but also not in the way that we want it, right?
As in what?
It's not in the way we want it.
I mean, yeah, it's not. I mean, there's still a long way to go. I mean, as of right now, like, K-pop is still gonna be that, like, the new thing, you know, the wow factor, like, you know, what's new about it, like, why do we care, like, you know, people are like, why should we care about it, you know, what's so cool about it, what's so great about it, and they're just amazed that there's, like, a huge fan base. They just don't understand how there can be so many people that like a group that sings not English.
So do you think America is taking K-pop seriously now?
I mean, I don't know, maybe to an extent, but I still think there's a long way to go.
So it was like, to me, like, America taking K-pop seriously is obviously giving them radio play, talk show hosts giving them more than 5 minutes of an interview.
Yeah.
You know, asking more insightful questions in interviews rather than the dry, like, what American artist would you like to collaborate with? Or anything like that. Do you think that there's still a long way to go for that?
I think it's slowly getting there. I mean, like, even with BTS, the couple of their past few interviews have started moving away from just, like, those generic questions and more into, like, who they are as a person and, like, their music and, like, you know, their message and stuff. So it's definitely going to take time. I mean, it's maybe a few more cycles. But I think they need to see how serious other K-pop companies are and other groups are.
So how do you think Big Hit is handling BTS in America? Are they handling it well? Do you think they can do better? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, with Big Hit, it's like, I feel like they're just kind of going with the flow. And, I mean, they probably have, like, professionals who are, you know, helping them with, like, their American promotions and stuff, but
do you think they're doing good? Do you think it could be better?
I mean, everything can be better. I mean, everything's learning. Everything is a work in progress. Everything's a work in progress, especially for a company like Big Hit, which is, like, the first time ever doing this. First time managing a company, managing a group that has gone to the size of that Bangtan has. Like, yeah, I mean, Bangtan's size is the first for anything in K-pop, so, I mean,
and
I don't think anybody would really know how to handle that, something to their scale.
Even, like, a big three company?
Even a big three company, I think, like, SM still struggles with managing their artists in America and overseas in America. I mean, in America, because they have tried and they haven't really, like, succeeded. Same with, you know, the other two companies. Nobody really has properly succeeded in entering in the American market, and, like, Bangtan did that, and so Big Hit, you know, is obviously, like, just kind of riding that same wave.